What's going on, everybody out there? Welcome back to the channel. It's so nice to see you all here and I hope you're all doing well. Today we are going to talk about something that was requested a lot in the past, so let's get into this. If you're new to the channel, I make videos like this weekly, and if you like my content, feel free to go ahead and subscribe. That being said, let's now start with today's video. It wasn't too long ago when I uploaded the video called, I think it was called My Vlogging Camera Setup. In this video I talked about my vlogging camera setup and why I think gear doesn't matter. I also talked about why I think your phone works perfectly fine to film, to take photos. And ever since then, when I got a lot of questions about how do you film with your phone, how do you take photos with your phone, can you give me some tips on mobile cinematography or photography, and I said myself, why not use the opportunity to make a video about this topic on my YouTube channel. So here it is, how to get the most out of your phone camera. Let's roll this intro. In this video I would like to go through some tips, some steps that I think will help you to get better mobile content. Okay, I recently had out with my cell phone. I'm using, before you're asking, I'm using a iPhone 6s Plus, I think that's how it's called. I mean, everybody nowadays has a phone. Most of the phones even have like a super good camera. This phone camera is not the best, but it works perfectly fine. But the most newer phones have also perfect cameras, so you can take advantage of using your phone. And if you also think about the following tips that I'm going to give you, you can get you can shoot a movie on your phone. Yeah, that's the kind of phone I'm using, but as I said, almost all phones nowadays have great built-in cameras. I mean, like this small thing here from the specs, it's actually better than my camera. But there are some things you should think about to get the most out of a phone camera. So let's start with the first tip. Tip number one is getting the most out of these phones, like squeezing everything out there that it has to offer. Because as I said, these phones have great built-in cameras, so you should also take advantage of that. So what I mean by taking the most out of your phone is changing settings. Like if you go over to the phone settings, you can actually change camera settings. You can get more out of there than you thought you could. So I will show quickly how to do this. iPhone screen. Okay, this is like super easy. Now go over to the settings on your iPhone, and if you're on an iPhone, I'm now on an iPhone, but this also works for Android phones, for other phones. This works for every phone. Just go over to the settings and search for camera, and here it tells you camera. There are some things you can do now here in the settings. For example, grid, that's super interesting. Turn on grid. And if we now go over to our camera, let's film this here. If we now go over to our camera, you can see these lines here. These lines are super helpful for making videos, for creating videos. You can use these lines to frame things, and it's super handy. The next thing you notice, it tells you record video. Click on there and here are some options. For example, I have 4K at 30 frames per second. I mean, 4K, that's a great setting, that's perfect for filming videos, but you should also know that it takes up a lot of storage. I mean, 4K, that's like perfect. My camera can't shoot 4K, this can't shoot 4K. I mean, only that's amazing. And here's my tip. I would always go with 60 frames per second, because if you go on your computer then edit this video that you shot in the iPhones, 60 frames per second, that's perfect. Like you can get some decent slow-mo out of 60 frames per second, because I think most people that use a iPhone, for example, or another phone shooting 30 frames per second, I would always use the 60 frames per second. So that's something you should definitely consider doing. So that was tip number one. That's how you get the most out of your phone. Then my next tip for using phones to create videos is a super simple tip, a super easy tip. Try to switch it up, try to be creative, try something new, because these phones, they are great, but you can add some things that make them even better. For example, you could use a CD, get some reflection, I will show some examples also. I tried something with a fire. Here's the tip: if you do use a phone like that and you do think the footage is a bit boring, just try something to make it a bit more creative, to make it a bit more interesting. Try to point something in front of the lens, I don't know, you could try to shoot through something, try to switch up the game a little bit with these phones. Yeah, that was tip number two. Be a bit creative with your phone. Then tip number three. Normally phones have great built-in image stabilizations, which is perfect, so you always get stable footage while shooting. But if you would like to get something a bit better, I would definitely consider maybe getting a phone gimbal, which got super popular in the last years. Whoop. This is not my gimbal, this is my brother's gimbal, but it's the DJI Osmo Mobile 1, I'm sorry. It's just an example for a little gimbal. It looks like this, it's a 3-axis gimbal, and if you put your phone in there you get like the best looking footage. It's so smooth, it's really funny to use that, so if you would like to get extra smooth footage, I would definitely consider getting a gimbal. Well, right now it's not charged, but I can say with a gimbal like this you can get like super smooth footage, but also handheld. I recommend getting some movement, for example like something, let's stand up here, something like this, or I don't know, something like similar to this, because phones, as I said, they have great image stabilizations, but what I don't like about phone cameras, they often do these micro shakes, and I don't know what it's called, but it's weird. Normally it happens if you hold the camera with one hand or you're shaking a little bit. It's like in all it's smooth, but these micro shakes, they look like so bad. Yeah, that was my first tip: get stabilized footage either with a gimbal or by trying to like get some movement into your shots, and you will see how much smoother your footage will be. So yeah, you're welcome. Then if you do all these things, you should already have pretty good looking footage, but now the audio that comes out of phones is normally not that good. As you saw recently, I included in a vlog like I was vlogging on my phone on a bike and it didn't sound good at all. I was editing at home and heard it and I was like, no way. So what my recommendation for you is tip number 4, using a mic. Like what not a lot of people think about, you can totally like attach a mic here and use that. That's also a great thing if you would like to shoot videos on your phone. These built-in mics are not that good, so you get the external mic. It's not that expensive. That's like the addition to the good visuals. You should also have good audio that will make your videos way more professional. And now that I talked about all these steps, you should already have a pretty decent video quality on your phone. Okay, now that we talked about all these things, my final tip number 5 is editing your iPhone footage, which is super important. You should always import your iPhone footage into Premiere, Final Cut, whatever you're using, or also on iMovie on your phone, which is not that good, but I would recommend editing on a computer, and then you can get something like, I have an example here. Okay, I made this comparison here. Here's the iPhone video, just clip after clip. As you saw, it's okay, but here's the same video with like color correction, stabilization and some more things. So play. As you notice, it's way better. I just used the tools in Premiere and you can get so much more out of your iPhone footage, but I think that would be another video to talk about how to edit phone footage. Maybe I will make this like part 2. If you would like to see it, leave a comment below telling me that you would like to see it. At this point now, if you did all these 5 steps, if you really did like 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, you should get like really good footage out of your phone. And that being said, now this video should encourage you to create even with your phone. Like having no camera, having no equipment, that's not an excuse anymore in 2018. As you saw, you can get decent footage out of your phone. Almost everybody has a phone, so not being able to create because you don't have the equipment, that's not an excuse anymore. And now that I hopefully teach you something about shooting videos on your phone, you should be able to create now. Like that's the point here. I would like to teach everybody how to create. I would like to encourage everybody to also go out there with a phone and try to create. If you love creating, I think that won't stop you like having no equipment. So now you have some tips from my side about how to create on a phone. I hope they were helpful. I really enjoyed making this video and teaching you something about how to use this as a professional camera. That being said, thank you so much for tuning into this video. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, please give it a like. Please subscribe to this channel if you're new here, and I will hopefully see you then in the next video. Thank you so much for watching and peace!